What is up, players? It's Warboss Tape in this mug. A little bit of a rambly video today, but I have built up these 10 Arquebusiers from Highland Miniatures and purchased through a 3D printer at Etsy. I've also included the 20mm barricade just to show reference on how these models look on these 25mm square bases. I love that they look a little bit more spaced out. They have their space and you can see the detail on all of them. I do need to go in and shave away some of this flash before I get the priming, but for anybody who's taking part in the Heroes of Hobbyton, if you upgrade your city guard to an archer and then upgrade your archer to a handgunner or a gunner or a rifle person, I forget what the exact terminology I use, this is what you're going to be receiving in your retinue. So for everybody who's playing the Heroes of Hobbyton game, if you are a patron of Warboss Tape Studios and you decide to take your retinue troopers on the ranged route instead of having them be foot knights, this is what they're going to look like. All right, stay tuned. We're going to take a look at the kits themselves and hope you enjoy the video. What up, players? It's Warboss Tape in this mug. I have some Highland Miniatures, Arquebusiers. I got a unit of 10 of them from Etsy. I also got this barricade, so we'll take a look at it. We'll review all of them, and we're also going to assemble them. The assembly for these miniatures is fantastic because all you're doing is putting heads onto bases or onto bodies. It's not like the Empire miniatures from Warhammer Fantasy. For those of you who do not remember those figures, you had 10 bodies that were basically torsos with legs, and you would have to clip out and clean up and then manually like adjust and set the arms. And there were 2 sets of weapons, so you either had 10 crossbowmen or 10 riflemen, handgunners. So you would have to match the arms to the hands, and then you'd have to hold those weapons and arms at the shoulders to the torsos, and then you had to like meet the holding arm with the hand that is attached to the weapon along with the other hand, and it was just a mess. You oftentimes got plastic glue all over your fingers. It was just a mess. The great thing about these is that they are designed to already be holding the guns at the perfect angle, the ideal angle. Here's the leader who's actually holding his hand out and aiming or pointing it forward, directing the fire to the enemy. He's got a little bit more armor on him, and then you've got the rest of these bodies. So right off the bat, I do love the way that these models are designed. I think that only having to worry about heads makes it an easy entry point for new players, inexperienced modelers, people who are just getting into the hobby or into the Empire faction. The reason I'm building this up is because we know Games Workshop is coming out with the Old World game soon, and I want to be putting these models onto some square bases, ranking them up, and throwing them at all manner of armies and enemies. But this set came with round bases, because whoever designed this assumed that you're going to be using these in Age of Sigmar games. But since Cities of Sigmar is coming along, they got rid of all of the old Empire, or many of the old Empire units, and I don't want to use these in Age of Sigmar. I want to use them in Warhammer Fantasy. So I've got these bases, 25mm bases. The old Empire troops came with 20mm bases because at the time Games Workshop for Fantasy was putting all of their human-sized miniatures onto, I don't know why I keep doing this, human-sized miniatures onto 20mm square bases. They're a little bit smaller, and they're obviously, because these are 25s, they're going to be smaller. But what happened was when you would build them up, everything looked a lot more squished together. The regiments looked a lot closer because putting humans, goblins, elves, dwarves onto the smaller bases meant that when you try to rank them up, sometimes they're bumping elbows, their like weapons are hitting the guy in front of them. It's just not a good look. With these 25mm bases, Games Workshop is saying with their Old World game, you can build your models and have them look like they have their own space. Each model has its own safe space. So we're gonna build them up, but just to let you know, these models bases that I'm using are from this company that you get 100 bases in a bag, and I think I only paid about 10 bucks for them. 25mm textured squares, so they've all got a little bit of texture. They're not completely smooth, which is good because this takes to paint very nicely, and then you can add your own texture later to make it look like whatever battlefield you're going for. If you would like to purchase some of these bases for yourself, if you're thinking of rebasing your current army, or if you're going to be going out and buying and picking up models off of eBay or wherever, like for example, I've purchased a bunch of dwarves through the Greywater Fastness Start Collecting box, as well as the Norgrim's Runethong Regiments of Renown box. That is hilarious. A Runethong. You're going to be wanting to put those dwarfs on some 25s, and Games Workshop only provides the rounds because they're thinking you're going to play them in Age of Sigmar. So go out and get yourself some 25mm square bases, then you don't have to worry about them. You can wait for the old world to come around and then for Games Workshop to have these in the boxes. But if you're like me, you want to get a little heads up on the game. Who knows how long we're going to be waiting for that game, and we want to make sure we can get to work with what we have. If you've got Empire troops or some of these resin alternatives already sitting in your closet and you've got the fever, I got a fever, and the only cure for it is to paint some Empire and Bretonnians on 25mm bases, then there you go. Okay, get these out of the way. Also, because these are resin figures, what I'm going to be doing is gluing them with some Zap-A-Gap super glue, and then I'm going to be hitting them with the Bob Smith Instaset super glue accelerator, Bob Smith Industries. And this winning combination you can also get in the description. I've linked the affiliate link there, so you can check those out. Remember, any of my affiliate links, you'll be supporting my studio if you do click on them. So I hope you check them out, because these are all, I only share links that I think are going to be beneficial to people. Like, of course, it's going to get me a small commission, but I would rather you be equipped with the tools that I wish I had when I first started painting than to be fumbling around and frustrated that you don't have it right at your fingertips. And with Amazon, man, you can get stuff like very quickly now. Okay, let's take a look at these bases first. These are the barricades, and every sculptor that sells you these is going to be different, right? Their technique and how much they clean up their miniatures is going to vary depending on them, but the quality of the sculpt is what I'm taking a look at. And you can tell right off the bat that this is very nice. Each of these barrels is has detail on the wood. There's grain. You can see with the boxes, they look nice. Now, there is some flashing you're going to have to take care of. What I love is that these bags have little indentations in them. This reminds me of the Cadian shock troopers. They're the last box that has been around since the 90s. Their sandbags looked terrible. I always hated their sandbags because they didn't look realistic. These look like they're folding in on themselves. You've got the heads of the bags here. What is it? Some cannonballs in there. Looks really good. Then the other side is a big wheel stuck in the mud with some wooden fencing, some metal. Now, I think what I should have done is not order these, because I just realized they're on 20mm, the 20mm size of length. So they're not going to fit as barricades, but you can use them as terrain pieces, or you can just add them to whatever terrain you have, and they can do that nicely. But because I'm building my guys on 25s, their bases are not going to line up, so I won't be able to use this as a unit filler to put it at the front of my ranks, but that's okay. You could, if you decide not to play the old world, and you decide to go with something else like 8th edition. All right, let's take a look at the actual bodies. And first we'll start with the headless ones. So the Games Workshop aesthetic for Empire has always been add a little extra, put a little bling on their troops, and this is carried through to Highland Miniatures design, because each of these looks really well designed with a lot of detail. Look at the wood grain on the handgun there. It almost looks like it was just cobbled together. Beautiful. And then they've got a little dagger, got a pouch, and another pouch, got a satchel. This guy's like got a variety of different holding containers on him. They all look terrific. Then some gunpowder and shot. It's terrific. And the quality of the puffy sleeves looks really good, almost as nice and solid as plastic. Then we'll take a look at the commander here. He's got some armor, Yeah, looks like a lot of flashing. Like I said, every Etsy seller is going to be a little bit different. You might get your miniatures sculpted on some better quality or poorer quality resin, which would affect how much of this flash you're going to have to clean off. Again, we're not taking a look at the quality itself of these sculpts. That's a repeat. We're just looking at the design. So look at how the wood grain of that rifle, oh man, that's beautiful. Because it's textured on like that, it's sculpted on, that means you're gonna be able to do some really nice weathering, some shading, some glazing. Those lines in the grain are gonna take to the paint really nicely. I love the poofy pants, poofy sleeves. This guy is all decked out and ready to go. I've heard that, so this is the company's Highland Miniatures, but I've seen Victus just released some Landsknecht miniatures where it has some female bodies. I wish I had seen that because I would love to have some female handgunners sculpted and to play with. They look a little bit, you know, their bodies are shaped a little different, and then they've got the female faces and heads with the big poofy hats. So this is one that's aiming down the sight, really nice. Ooh, a double poofy sleeve, wow. Wow. My Owen Wilson there. Sheesh. Another aiming down the sight with a double sleeve. Okay, so you get one, looks like one repeat for each miniature. I like the handguns too. They basically look like old BB guns, or old not even BB guns, but like boxcar contraptions where it's just a piece of wood with a pipe on top and an arming mechanism. It looks really good. And then these last two are the ones with the heads. Is this a female head? I wonder. All right, so we're gonna build them up now, and we'll see what they look like. All right, before we actually get building, I forgot to take a look at the heads you get with this set. So let's just quickly look. You got this all bearded, ridiculous mustachioed faces. I'm not sure if they're all the ones that come with this pack, with this set. I am seeing a repeat there. Looks like we have 4 ridiculous mustaches with the double feathers on the top, and you can see there's a little bit of that flash on the bottom. This repeat with the guy with the beard, and this guy with the full goatee and mustache, so that's a repeat there. I actually, disclaimer, I ordered 20 of these guys, and it only came with 19 heads for the bodies, or I guess 15 heads, and then you have 4 bodies with the head. So I am missing a head. I decided to switch out the head of my captain for a Warhammer Fantasy Empire Grand Feathered Greatsword head. So looking at them lined up next to each other, they're very comparable. As an Empire player, for anyone who's collected Empire, you're going to have a lot of extra heads. All of the kits that Games Workshop made in plastic had a ton of heads. So I've got this one from my Greatswords kit, an extra head left over. So I'm going to be putting this onto the captain. And bringing my guys down here, it's just a simple matter of putting a dab of super glue because we're working with resin. And then putting the head on, aiming it towards the direction. It looks like his feather is too grandiose. We might have to add on like a second. There we go, that's fine. Second glue point here in the back. Boop, boop. And we're gonna hit it with the Bob Smith. Woo! Bob Smith Industries didn't catch it. There we go. Trying not to get any super glue on my finger. Boom. You can see that plastic, the Games Workshop plastic, matches perfectly just about with the resin, at least that this one vendor used. So we'll Put some glue on his feet there. Make sure he's aimed in the right direction. Hit it with the Bob Smith. And I'm just gonna repeat this process for the rest of my guys, and we'll show you what it looks like in a minute. All right, players, after a little bit of fiddly work, I came up with this from my unit of 10. Now, like I mentioned, I do have another 10 here that I'm gonna be building up and putting onto square bases. But just to show you an example of what you get for the minimum, 10 Arquebusiers from Highland Miniatures with the barricade. The barricade, of course, is on 20mm squares. So because it's supposed to go 5 across, you get 5mm shaved off of each of these models on the 25mm squares, which means you get an whole extra base worth. If you're going to use it as a unit filler, basically what I'm saying is you want to get the long cavalry sized bases, or the ones that came with the old Bretonian men-at-arms or archers bowman kits, because those are like 4 across, but you want to get them in 25mm. So you actually want to get like 100mm by 25mm bases if you're going to do unit fillers, just to throw into your units. They look cool. I mean, if I was going to do a 2 rank deep unit like this, I would have barricades all across the front. But yeah, maybe making your own might be an option. You never know. So thanks for watching. They all look great. That Empire head, greatsword head for the captain, fits perfectly with everybody else. And I love this unit. I love the quality of the sculpt. My son is saying it's time to go hi-ho, so I'm going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to leave the links down for Zap-A-Gap, as well as Bob Smith Industries Accelerator and the 25mm bases, because we know that the old world is going to be running on those. If you want to get a head start on basing your miniatures on 25s, then you can do that with the link in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. First rank fire! Kaput.